I don't love Marrakesh, and that surprised me because online this place looks unreal. The riads, the colours, the markets, it feels like a dream. But when I got here, the reality hit differently. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't a hate video. We're going to see some amazing sights and I'll share some travel tips and we'll meet some incredible people. But Marrakesh is complicated, chaotic and colourful. And just because you visit here, it doesn't mean you've seen Morocco. I'll show you the sights you can't miss, give you some bartering tips and just share my general feel of the city. Let's go. Before we get started on this tour, clearly I'm not in Marrakesh anymore, which is good because it's given me some time to reflect, to really give you all the details and my true honest opinion of the city, and that will be halfway through the video where we'll have a little rant and a rave. Thank you to everyone that joined from the start to here on this Morocco adventure. Please leave me a comment below or just write Marrakesh and a thumb. I really appreciate that. So let's get going. Let's start here at the famous Jemaa el-Fnaa square. This is the beating heart of Marrakesh, and the only word I can use to describe it is bouncing, and my head certainly was after a few days. In the morning it's fairly quiet like this, then by the afternoon it picks up, and at night it really comes alive. Now, a quick heads up, things can get a little tricky here. I paid €20 just to take a picture with a snake, and I've heard stories of people getting henna tattoos only to have rude words written on their hands in Arabic. I'm not gonna lie, that noise is just continuous throughout the day. You're just gonna hear that all day. So I went to have a look at some of the stuff. Do not film without permission, and if you're gonna film, they're gonna want some money. Met this gentleman here, and you heard me trying to barter, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you found it funny.
Yeah, it's really funny on this picture.
So you're gonna give us how do we negotiate with you? This is your stall here.
Yeah, that's
And
my stuff.
let's imagine that I'm buying something. How does it work?
Like maybe for this one, I can give you a price maybe like €4 or €5. So you just need to know in Morocco when you give you the price, you need to like cut it in two.
In half.
Yeah, when I say €5, you can get for 30 or 25.
Right.
Yeah, you give the half.
A little travel tip here, it's a very walkable city, Marrakesh, and I actually ended up walking to the Saadian Tombs. These tombs date back to the 16th century and are the final resting place of Sultan Ahmed al-Mansur and members of the Saadian dynasty. They were hidden for centuries and rediscovered in 1917, and they're famous for their intricate zellige tiles and carved cedar wood. Now, my personal experience, entry was 100 Moroccan dirhams. As you can see behind me, there is a long queue here, but I'm nearly at the tomb, and I think it's better to have a queuing system because then you get to have a picture on your own there, rather than it just be chaos. So it's worth the wait. I've been queuing for about an hour and a half though. I've just met this gentleman here. What was your name?
Jose Gonzalez from Guatemala.
Right, and what's your first impressions of Marrakesh?
Actually, this is my first time here. So before coming to Marrakesh, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and to tell you the truth, my expectations weren't so high. Surprisingly, I have had a nice time, but it's definitely a very touristy city.
Do you know the funny thing? You're going to be in a YouTube video telling other people now.
Okay.
So what would you say to them the number one thing they should know before coming?
Well, actually, so you have to learn how to bargain, because everybody is it's gonna try to charge you twice or three times as much for stuff. So you need to practice your bargaining skills. Then it's a really interesting place. If you go to the Medina, to the Souks, I think they are called. There are a lot of streets. You have to have a good Wi-Fi plan for you not to get lost, but it's a nice experience.
I completely agree with both of those things. So I wish you a good trip.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we've got the Bahia Palace. This palace was built in the late 19th century by a powerful Moroccan noble and expanded by his son. It's a masterpiece of Moroccan architecture with lush gardens, serene courtyards, colourful zellage tiles and intricately carved cedar ceilings. Bahia translates to brilliance, and when you see the attention to detail and the tile work, you understand why it's called the Brilliant Palace. Entry was 100 Moroccan dirhams, and as soon as I stepped inside, I was blown away by the scale and detail. Wandering through the rooms and gardens, you really feel the luxury and elegance of this place, like stepping into a piece of history. Getting out of there is very difficult because there's no sign saying exit, so I walked around 3 times. Not a bad place to be lost in. You can see all these people here. You want to come nice and early to avoid the crowds, or not during the school holidays. At the beginning of the video, I promised you a rant, and here it is. I'm going to start by quoting a drunk British woman who was ordering a pina colada as she said this, and it went something like, "It all looks the same and they're all selling the same tat." And to be honest, it's kind of true. The souks aren't as authentic as they were in Agadir or Rabat. It looks like Chinese tat, and it was even 6 times more expensive. It just seems like a place where they want to scam tourists as much as they can, which then leads into the next point. It builds resentment between the locals and the tourists, because if the prices are high, the cost of living goes up. And some locals I spoke to said they couldn't even afford to live in Marrakesh anymore. They didn't want to say it on camera because they didn't want to get in trouble, but I do think that problem's going to get bigger and bigger. There were a lot of children taking food off tourists' plates, which I couldn't believe, so I actually filmed it. You'll see it here. And I had a child holding onto my leg as I was walking down the road asking for money. And my travel tip is, as awful as it sounds, you can't give them money because they'll just follow you for hours otherwise. There could be more controls. I did feel like maybe they need to have a bit more organisation there. Another thing is tourists eating at American restaurants and at European coffee places. You're not really supporting the locals there. And everyone was queuing up for the same places. Just go and eat at a local restaurant. It just blows my mind, that does. A positive thing is it's very good for a short experience, but if you're there for longer than 5 days like me, I think it's too much, because you're gonna just start to feel like they're out to scam you and get your money, and it's just not a comfortable experience. And for accommodation, I stayed at the Sea Moon and Spa Riad, right in the heart of the Medina. It was very, very nice, 5-star experience. The highlight there was actually the traditional hammam, which is nothing like a Turkish one. There's no steam, and the lady wouldn't let me film it, but you lie down on a very hot slab of marble and they throw really hot water on you and then scrub you down with argan oil. So even if you just go to this riad for that, it's worth it. But the breakfast was amazing. The room was very clean. I'm completely lost in the Medina, so I'm going to give you some tips for when you get lost, because you will get lost. So just prepare yourself. Number 1, you need Google Maps. Is the only one that can navigate through this Medina. The other apps won't work as well. Number 2 is just be prepared for all the chaos going around. You just get used to it after a few days. Number 3, in the night, this is a great example here. You see like a passage like this? In the night, it might be closed off, or even this one over here, because they block some of the shutters. So just be aware that things are going to be moving around and changing. Nothing's ever set. And if you do get really lost, most people are pretty cool, but like in every city in the world, there's always going to be someone that might ask for money to help, or go into a restaurant and ask in there. That's what I would do. I'm lost in the Medina and I've just met this lady here. What was your name?
Annika.
And you're going to give us your first impressions of Marrakesh and what to expect for other tourists, some little tips you've learned.
Okay, what I've gathered in Marrakesh, every single person is gonna have a different experience because everything is happening all at once. There are 3 donkeys trying to cross the street while there is a kid with a bag of baguettes, a lady with a bag of rice on her head, and they're all going the same way, different way.
Exactly like we can
lot.
like we can see here. So you made me laugh because you said that you needed a day to just adapt to the situation.
Adapt and process just everything that your eyes have seen, your ears have heard, because it's an overload on all of your senses.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. We've reached the end of our Marrakesh experience and actually the end of our Morocco tour for now. I do have 2 more videos coming. 5 tips for when you're in Morocco, travel tips, must know things, and the location that I think is the best place to start if you're new to Morocco, if you've never been before. I'm gonna have to say Marrakesh didn't win me over this time. I may well be back in the future, let's see, but it's the worst place I went to in the whole country. It's just my opinion and my experience. Next up on the channel, it's very exciting. We're going to be going to Montenegro, Kotor, and then hopefully after that we'll be going to Croatia. I'm going to try and get some Balkan countries in, and then in the winter we're maybe going to do Portugal and back in Morocco and maybe Egypt. With all this stuff going on with the world, going to Asia at the moment isn't on the cards, but let's see. And thank you to all the commenters and the likers and the subscribers, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.